Welcome to homeschooling. I know you're excited, and I'm excited for you. I'm going to do this short video just as a way to simplify the overwhelm and to keep things in steps for you. I tend to learn better by steps. So I just want to give you these 5 short steps of the process of becoming a new homeschooler here at the beginning of this course, because I want you to understand and not get lost in this course as we go along. These 5 steps will be like a map, if you will, of where to go from point 1 to point 2 to point 3, different points in your journey. So let me just tell you the 5 steps, and then I'll explain them quickly, but this video won't be long because I know you want to launch in to the course. Okay, here's the 5 steps. I even wrote them down over here to be sure that I kept it as simple as possible for you. The first step to beginning homeschool is to know your law. Know the law of the state that you live in or the country that you live in. This is very important because it affects, or it may affect, your curriculum choices. Now, homeschooling is legal in all 50 states, but some states have more stricter requirements. They may tout when they think you should start your year, and they run it a little bit more public schoolish. Other states like Texas, the state that I live in, says homeschoolers are private school. They don't mess with anything we're doing. We don't keep attendance. We don't report to them. We don't even have to do testing. That doesn't mean we don't. I'm just saying what's required by the law. If you don't know your law, it could be possible that you set yourself up to make this year harder than it needs to be because you try to really fulfill stringent requirements when really you may be able to start off your year at a relaxed pace. You need to know if you have the freedom to dictate the curriculum and the hours. Other states don't recognize homeschool as a private school, and they say you have to use an umbrella school or a charter school. So knowing your laws first, not choosing curriculum, not asking about curriculum, but know your laws. And here's the other reason. Knowledge is power. When some people that are uninformed about your homeschool laws say, well, you have to school 7 hours like public school, you'll say, no, I don't, because you will be one informed homeschooler. Now, you can certainly post on the group and ask, about homeschool laws. We're all from different parts of the world, but the Homeschool Legal Defense Association website has been around for years. It has a map of the United States. It's clickable by states. You can click on there and you can read the state laws. Sometimes it really doesn't help you reading them. Sometimes it's best to be part of a group in your local area. There's no shortage of groups that you could be part of online, and you want to be part of several groups. Most of them do by Facebook now. And asking a seasoned veteran in your state, how do you make this work or that work? And the reason you need to know these things is because from the beginning, you may need to record keep, you may need to do testing, evaluation. You want to be in the know. So knowing your law is the first place to start, not buying curriculum, because you want to make a better choice and you want to spend your money wisely, and you don't want to make something harder on yourself than it needs to be in the beginning. Homeschooling's already hard enough to begin with, okay? So know your laws. Along with knowing your laws, I love the ooey gooey part and the lovey-lovey part about homeschooling, but I'm also a factual person. I can look at things analytical. And I want knowledge, and I want statistics, and I want to know that it really works, okay? And we can print those things off, have them at our fingertips for naysayers and for yourself. So there's another website, the National Home Education Research Institution, that's been around by Dr. Brian Ray. It's been around, I think, since the 90s. And he's always does researches and he puts test on there about curriculum, about homeschoolers, how they do, how children do with a parent who perhaps never went to college versus one who did, if that made any difference. He talks about curriculum. There's all kinds of stats to show how positive homeschooling is. So if you're looking to talk yourself into it, or say you need just to tout to somebody else the power of homeschooling or that it really works, grab you some of those stats there too. Okay, so that's the first step. Know your law, know your stats. Okay, the second part, the second step, know your child. Okay, what do I mean by this? You can say, well, I know my child. Well, you do, but not in this way where you can actually put on the teacher hat. It doesn't mean you can completely change the person you are, but teaching them is different because we learn another facet. Children are so fascinated and so intriguing. They have so many different personality traits, and you know, you teach them one subject and it seems like it taps into something else that they like and they don't like. And I'm always surprised, even teaching my kids through all the many years that I have, that I'm like, oh, I learned something else about this kid. So that takes a little bit longer time to do, to know your child. And part of that we do through deschooling, which I talk about in a different video. But mostly it's taking time to get to know them, asking them questions. What did you not like about school? What was your favorite subject? What wasn't your favorite subject? What would you like to learn about now? What classes would you like to take? It doesn't mean you're going to do all those things, but the more input from them, the better. So you want to take time to know your child. Okay, here's another thing. The way that this program is laid out, you want to take time to know homeschool approaches. See, in public school, they have one approach. It's the one that most people know, and it's the one that they do when they come home, when they bring their kid home, and that is they just buy a workbook, they buy a worksheet, a pencil, and they think, woo, we're really homeschooling now. But really, it can set yourself up for failure. The reason homeschooling is so good is because there's flexibility in the approach. Approach means the way that you teach a certain body of knowledge. Some kids are workbookish, but also you may think, well, they really like workbooks. They may, but it may be all they know too. And it's what they've been comfortable with. They've never been given the freedom to learn any other way. So what you want to do is know, what are the homeschooling approaches, like Charlotte Mason, unschooling, unit study, the classical approach, Waldorf. There's been several different approaches that have come off and on the scene through the many years of homeschooling, but the major ones we're going to talk about through this course. When you understand an approach, then you can say, oh, well, this lines up with my family's values, or this lines up for the reason that I'm really wanting to homeschool. So you know your laws, you know your child, you're understanding first about the approach of homeschooling, then we're over to choosing curriculum. Okay, then we can make a much better choice, because then we say, okay, I know the laws, my curriculum has to meet the laws of my state, it has to meet the needs of my kids, and it has to meet my educational values. Make sense? Okay, that's the fourth step. And the fifth step is evaluate. When we get all of those and you finish the course, you're like, okay, let me evaluate. What have I done? What have I not done? And evaluate's not just something you do at the end of this course, but it's something you do your whole homeschool journey. It's not just this first year, but it's something you'll want to do all of your homeschool journey. So anyway, I just want to break those 5 steps down to you to give you a beginning point. That is what you're doing. That's where you're going. Those are the steps to how you start. Now, there's other topics that go in here that we're going to be talking about, like deschooling would fall under knowing your child. It would also fall under knowing your approach. So different things that we're going to talk about would fall under these topics. But those are the big 5 that I want you to remember. Those are the steps. So if you've gotten out of sequence already, take some time to go ahead and put your ducks back in a row, because this is what you need to do. So first thing, if you can't tell me your law, not tell me your law, but how does it work? The nuts and bolts. It's one thing to read a law, but it's another thing to understand how are you going to meet that law. And you'll need to know that, because you might have to test and evaluate. And it also determines when you want to start your school year. If you're in a state that is strict, they'll say you start August to May. Other states, like Texas, don't dictate. I decide when I start my year, and it's not August. For many years, I started my year in January just because I enjoyed it, and we took off during the fall. So all your state laws and all these things will dictate when you exactly need to start. So don't put undue pressure on yourself if you live in a state where it really doesn't matter when you start. We're not saying it's going to be a long time. I don't want to stress you out. But what I do want you to understand is to relax. Be informed. Be informed. When you're informed, when other people tout something that's not right, you can say, that's not right, because you have your ducks in a row. Okay? All right, I'm excited for you.